On choosing the Da Vinci Code as a book club book in the 2000s decade. So it's a little bit later. It's a couple decades later. It's Tuesday, 30 September 2025. And you go, what? This was published back in 2003. Okay. Here I, Tanis, she, her, hers of Seattle, reflect on choosing the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, 2003 book. Copy shown in this video was an April 2003 first edition with the publisher of Doubleday and ISBN in the video description. Put the ISBN in the video description if you want it. And I chose this as a book club book in the 2000s decade as part of a mother-daughter book club I was in. I chose the book and my mom approved it to be our book for our pair. Yeah, so it was in a mother-daughter book club book, and it was in it for like, I think it's like 9 years or something like that. And or a group of different mother-daughter pairs, and so we get to choose a book and had to get approval, you know, from the mom to, and then it'd be read a book a month, and so we'd host and have a discussion and stuff. And I've talked about the book club before on this channel, but this is one of the books that I chose, and I think I've even mentioned that before. And I did not choose it the year it was released. It was like mid to late 2000s that I actually chose the book. And on choosing it was, I thought it was a good approach to trying to make religion not about religion. And so that's part of why I chose it, was because, you know, there were a number of Christian families in the book club. And so it was like, it was I really, like, I liked the book because it approached religion from kind of an art, how it was preserved, has been preserved. So documentation and art. And so it was like, it's a, one way of approaching religion from without the faith component to it. And I liked action, adventure, and suspense and that kind of thing, and thrillers. And so this kind of fell into that. And so I was like, it adds in a bit of action, because, you know, like, I chose this, and, you know, it was, I think I previously brought this up as like a balance to somebody chose Little Woman, and I don't like drama. So it's like, here's the action balance to that pick, you know, kind of thing. And one of the questions I asked as part of this discussion that people ended up shying away from was if the character Silas went to heaven or hell. So sometimes choosing this, like I chose it, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, I felt like that was an obvious one, and like people shied away from the question. And I was kind of like, okay. So we can learn a lot by choosing a book and then hosting and like coming up with questions for it. It was like, you know, so sometimes like the thing that seems obvious to somebody might not be obvious to something else. So I was like, do I have something and like a similar tune? Is this a better talking point? Not necessarily about the book, but like in general. Electric vehicles drive gas prices at the pump up since fossil fuels are being used to generate the electricity they use. Electric vehicles just might be the dirtiest vehicles yet when the whole process and all their materials are taken into account. So it's kind of like, from somebody with a geology and geophysics background in training, including on the ground, in mines and in oil fields kind of thing, there's a little bit of what's obvious to me may not be obvious to everybody. And then there's also just the basic electricity, you know, production plots, and like, and I brought that up when I was teaching. There was an oceanography class that brought that up. You know, in California, oil and gas are used to produce electricity, so even if you have an electric vehicle, you're still consuming fossil fuels if you're consuming electricity, like if you're driving the vehicle. So it's kind of like, it in that sense is actually dirtier than the gasoline car, which doesn't have the rare earth materials that produce like acid mine drainage and stuff like that. So it's like, to me it's obvious, but like my students were kind of like, so I guess I'm walking then. Anyway, so that's on choosing the Da Vinci Code as a book club book in the 2000s decade.